The rain pounded relentlessly on the windshield of Tyler Reed's old green pickup truck as he navigated the slick surface of Highway 6 just outside Rockport, Texas. It was a cold, foggy night in late autumn, the kind where the mist rolled in from the distant fields like a living thing swallowing the sparse streetlights and turning the world into a hazy blur. Tyler, a single dad in his mid-30s, gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white from exhaustion after a long night shift at the agricultural machinery repair shop. The wipers struggled against the downpour, their rhythmic squeak, the only sound competing with the low hum of the engine. Tyler's mind wandered to his 8-year-old daughter Ellie, asleep back at their modest mobile home on the edge of town. He pictured her curled up with the stuffed bear he'd scrimped for 4 extra shifts to buy for her birthday. It wasn't much, but it was everything to her and to him. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, leaving him to juggle work bills and fatherhood alone. But Tyler kept going one day at a time for Ellie. A faint country tune crackled from the radio, something about lost love and rainy nights, when suddenly Tyler's headlights caught a figure on the roadside. A woman, drenched and alone, stood there waving desperately. She looked like she might collapse any second, her long hair plastered to her face, her trench coat clinging to her frame. Tyler's first instinct was caution. He wasn't one to pick up strangers, especially at night, but something in her posture, the way she hugged herself against the wind, tugged at him. He slowed the truck to a stop, pulling over onto the gravel shoulder. Rolling down the window, a gust of cold air rushed in, carrying the earthy scent of wet soil. "You okay?" Tyler called out, his voice steady but wary. The woman approached her steps, hesitant on the uneven ground. She was around 30, with sharp features softened by the rain and eyes that held a mix of relief and desperation. My car broke down back there," she said, her teeth chattering. "Phone's dead. I don't know what to do." Tyler glanced in his rearview mirror and spotted the faint outline of a sedan 100 yards back, its hazard lights flickering weakly through the sheets of rain. "Need me to call a tow truck?" he offered, reaching for his own phone. She shook her head, water dripping from her chin. "I just need to get to a gas station or somewhere with people. Please." He hesitated for a split second, weighing the risks, but the storm was worsening and leaving her out here felt wrong. "Hop in," he said, finally unlocking the passenger door. "I can drop you at the nearest town. It's about 15 minutes up the road." She climbed in quickly, her hands icy as she buckled up. The cab filled with the smell of rain-soaked fabric and a faint, expensive perfume that seemed out of place in his battered truck. Tyler turned up the heater, its old fan groaning in protest, and pulled back onto the highway without another word. The silence stretched, broken only by the patter of rain on the roof and the occasional rumble of thunder. Tyler kept his eyes on the road, but he couldn't help sneaking glances at her. She was beautiful in a weary sort of way, not glamorous, but refined, like someone who'd seen better days. No luggage, no bags, just a small leather wallet clutched in her lap. "What's your name?" he asked, trying to ease the tension. "Rachel," she replied softly, staring out the window. "Tyler," he said with a nod. "I work at a machinery shop nearby." "You," she paused, as if choosing her words carefully. "I'm on a business trip. The car breaking down wasn't part of the plan." He didn't press further. People had their reasons for vagueness, and Tyler wasn't one to pry, but he noticed the way her fingers trembled slightly, not just from the cold. They drove on the headlights, cutting narrow beams through the fog until the lights of Hope Valley's rundown gas station appeared on the horizon. Tyler pulled into the lot, the truck's tires crunching on wet gravel. "This is the closest spot," he said. "They've got a phone inside, and the clerk's usually helpful. You can call family or a service from there." Rachel turned to him, her expression softening for the first time. "Thank you, Tyler. No one else stopped tonight. But you did." She stepped out, closing the door gently, and hurried toward the station's awning. Tyler watched through the rain-streaked window as she spoke to the attendant, her posture straightening a bit. Satisfied she'd be all right, he sighed and shifted into gear, heading home to Ellie. A strange emptiness lingered in the cab, but he shook it off. It was just a good deed on a bad night. What Tyler didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined, was that the woman he'd just helped was Rachel Hawthorne. the sole daughter of billionaire Victor Hawthorne, who owned half the real estate in the county. She'd fled her opulent life in New York that very evening, cut off financially after refusing an arranged marriage her father demanded. And in her darkest hour, stranded and alone, the only person who'd shown her kindness was a stranger in a beat-up truck, a man who had no idea how that one act would upend both their lives. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains of Tyler Reed's mobile home, casting a warm glow on the cluttered kitchen counter. He stirred awake at the crack of dawn, as he always did, rubbing the sleep from his eyes before shuffling to the coffee maker. The machine gurgled to life, filling the small space with the familiar aroma that grounded him in routine. Tyler poured a mug black and strong and glanced at the clock. Time to get Ellie up. The home was modest, tucked away on the western edge of Hope Valley, surrounded by pine trees that whispered in the breeze. It wasn't much faded wallpaper, a worn couch, and a tiny bedroom shared with his daughter. But it was theirs, a sanctuary he'd fought to keep after losing his wife, Sarah, in that tragic accident 3 years ago. Cancer had taken her, slowly leaving Tyler to navigate grief and single parenthood in a world that didn't slow down for broken hearts. He worked extra shifts at the shop-skipped meals to stretch the budget, all for Ellie, the bright-eyed girl who reminded him so much of her mother. "Ellie, sweetie, time for school," Tyler called softly, knocking on the doorframe. She mumbled something incoherent, her small form buried under blankets. He smiled, pulling the covers back gently. "Pancakes today with extra syrup." Her eyes lit up. "Really, Dad? Really?" He ruffled her hair, helping her get ready while flipping pancakes on the stove. Breakfast was quick, Ellie chattering about her art project, Tyler nodding along, his mind already drifting to the day's repairs at the shop. After dropping her off at school with a hug and a promise to pick her up on time, he headed to work. The events of the previous night fading like the rain clouds. The machinery shop was its usual bustle, engines, rumbling tools, clanging, the smell of oil thick in the air. Tyler clocked in, grabbing his toolbox, when his boss, Mr. Larson, a gruff man in his 50s with grease-stained overalls, waved him over. "Tyler, come here. Got someone you need to meet." Standing beside Larson was a woman in a crisp black suit, her hair neatly pinned up, exuding an air of quiet authority. Tyler froze mid-step. It was Rachel, the woman from the rain-soaked highway. But transformed, no longer shivering and vulnerable, she stood tall, her eyes sharp and composed. Larson cleared his throat. "This is Rachel Hawthorne. She's our new investor for the expansion project. Wants to talk to you specifically." Rachel extended her hand, her gaze steady. "Hello again, Tyler. I meant what I said last night. I don't forget kindness." Tyler's mind raced, piecing it together. "You're investing here. Why?" She smiled faintly, a warmth breaking through her professional demeanor. "Last night, I was at my lowest, stranded, cut off from everything. No one stopped. But you did, without knowing who I was or asking for anything in return. That kind of decency is rare, and I believe in rewarding it," Larson interjected, looking puzzled. "Rachel's putting in capital for new equipment training programs. She suggested you for the lead technical supervisor role." Tyler shook his head, stepping back. "Whoa, hold on. I'm just a mechanic. No fancy degrees, no management experience. I appreciate the gesture, but I can't accept charity." Rachel's expression softened. "It's not charity. It's an investment in people. I've reviewed the shop's records. Your work stands out. Reliable, innovative fixes on tight budgets, and last night showed me your character. Think about it better, pay stability for your daughter." Ellie, the word hit him like a punch. He thought of the leaky roof at home, the school supplies he couldn't afford yet. Still, pride tugged at him. "I don't want handouts," he muttered. Rachel leaned in slightly, her voice low. "Then prove me right. Earn it through the work." Larson nodded approvingly as Tyler reluctantly shook her hand. The rest of the morning blurred discussions about upgrades, timelines. But later, in a quiet corner of the shop, Rachel pulled him aside. "I owe you more than this," she said. "The truth is, I wasn't on a business trip. My father, Victor Hawthorne, controls a real estate empire. He tried to force me into a marriage for alliances. I refused, and he cut me off. Last night was me running with nothing but my car and wallet." Tyler listened, surprised by her vulnerability. "I'm sorry, that sounds rough. I lost my wife to cancer 3 years ago. Raising Ellie alone, it's not easy, but you keep going." She nodded, a shared understanding passing between them. Exactly. People like us, we build our own paths. As the day ended, Tyler felt a spark of something new, trust perhaps in this unexpected ally. But romance not yet. For now, it was just the beginning of change. In the weeks that followed, the machinery shop in Hope Valley transformed almost overnight. New equipment arrived in gleaming crates, state-of-the-art diagnostic tools, hydraulic lifts, and computer systems that made repairs faster and more precise. Rachel's investment wasn't just money, it was a vision. She reorganized workflows, negotiated better contracts with suppliers, and even introduced training sessions for the staff. Wages went up, morale followed, and for the first time in years, the place buzzed with optimism. Tyler, thrust into the role of lead technical supervisor, found himself at the center of it all. He coordinated teams, troubleshot complex breakdowns, and implemented ideas he'd scribbled on napkins during lunch breaks. The work was demanding, but rewarding. Finally, he could see a future beyond scraping by. Not everyone shared the enthusiasm. Whispers started in the break room, subtle at first, then sharper. Tom Harlan, a veteran mechanic with a chip on his shoulder, was the loudest voice. He'd been at the shop for over a decade, comfortable in his unofficial authority, and Tyler's sudden promotion grated on him. "Guy picks up some rich girl on the highway, and boom, he's running the show," Tom muttered one afternoon loud enough for others to hear while they sipped coffee. "Must be nice charming your way up. Wonder what else he's fixing for her." Tyler overheard it all, the sidelong glances, the jokes behind his back. He knew the rumors that he was using Rachel, that their chance meeting was too convenient, that he was after her money. It stung, but he didn't bite back. Instead, he buried himself in work, staying late to calibrate machines or mentor the younger guys. "Focus on the job," he'd tell himself, wiping grease from his hands. Proving them wrong through actions felt better than words. The breaking point came one evening when Tyler picked Ellie up from school. She climbed into the truck silently, her usual chatter absent. As they drove home, she stared out the window, twisting her backpack strap. "Dad," she said finally, her voice small. "Some kids at school said you're only nice to that lady because she's rich. They said you're trying to marry her money or something." Tyler's grip tightened on the wheel, his stomach twisting. He pulled over, turning to face her. Ellie's eyes were red-rimmed tears threatening to spill. "That's not true, sweetie," he said, gently pulling her into a hug. "I helped her because she needed it, and now we're working together, that's all." But inside, anger simmered. The shop gossip had leaked into his daughter's world, tainting her innocence. That night, after tucking Ellie in with extra stories to ease her worries, Tyler paced the kitchen, debating. He couldn't let this slide. The next day, he knocked on Rachel's office door at the shop. She looked up from her laptop, concern flashing across her face at his expression. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door behind him. She set aside her papers. "I know about the rumors. I've heard them too." "It's not just talk," Tyler replied, his voice steady but edged with frustration. "It's affecting Ellie. Kids are teasing her at school. I won't have my daughter paying for this. If being around us is causing problems, maybe we should step back." Rachel stood crossing the room to him. Her eyes searched his soft with understanding. "Tyler, I'm sorry, I never wanted that. But stepping back, that's not what I want." She paused, taking a breath. "The truth is, I like you not because of the job or the shop, because of who you are. Steady the kind of man who stops in the rain for a stranger. That's rare." He met her gaze, the tension easing slightly. "I like you too. More than I expected. But Ellie's my world. I can't risk her getting hurt." She nodded. "Then let's protect her together. No more hiding from the talk, we face it." That evening, Rachel showed up at their mobile home unannounced, carrying a bag of groceries. "Thought I'd help with dinner," she said with a tentative smile. Tyler let her in, watching as she rolled up her sleeves and dove into making spaghetti with Ellie. Laughter filled the kitchen, Rachel, showing Ellie how to twirl pasta on a fork, sharing stories of her own childhood mishaps in the kitchen back in New York. "I once burned toast so bad the fire alarm went off," she confessed, making Ellie giggle. Tyler leaned against the doorway, observing. For the first time in years, the house felt alive, not just functional. Ellie's eyes sparkled, and Rachel fit in effortlessly, her polished edges softening in the warmth of their simple life. As the night wound down with Ellie asleep, Tyler walked Rachel to her car. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For tonight. For understanding." She squeezed his hand lightly. "We're in this together now." In that moment, amid the pine-scented breeze, Tyler realized the rumors hadn't broken them, they'd only drawn them closer. 3 days after Rachel's heartfelt visit to Tyler's home, the machinery shop hummed with its usual rhythm mechanics, shouting over the whine of tools engines being tested in the yard. Tyler was in the middle of overseeing a new hydraulic system installation when the roar of a powerful engine cut through the noise. A sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up to the front, its polished surface gleaming under the Texas sun. 2 suited men stepped out, first briefcases in hand, followed by an older gentleman in a tailored suit, his silver hair impeccably combed and his posture radiating authority. Tyler wiped his hands on a rag sensing trouble as Mr. Larson hurried out to greet them. Rachel emerged from her office moments later, her face paling as she locked eyes with the older man. "Father," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the tension. Victor Hawthorne surveyed the shop with a disdainful glance, his sharp eyes landing on Tyler briefly before returning to his daughter. "Rachel," he replied coolly, gesturing to the lawyers, "we need to talk. Privately." The shop fell silent, workers pausing mid-task to watch. Rachel crossed her arms. "Anything you have to say can be said here. This is my business now." Victor's jaw tightened. "Your business? Pouring family money into this backwater operation, and for what a fling with some mechanic—" He nodded toward Tyler, who stood a few feet away, fists clenched but silent. The lawyers opened their briefcases, pulling out documents. "I've come to reclaim what's mine. These papers authorize the immediate withdrawal of all Hawthorne funds from this venture. You're done playing house." Gasps rippled through the crowd of workers. Tom smirked from the sidelines, arms folded, but most faces showed shock and concern. Rachel didn't flinch. She stepped forward, meeting her father's gaze. "You don't control me anymore, Dad. I anticipated this. 3 weeks ago, I liquidated my entire stake in Hawthorne Group and transferred it to an independent trust under my name alone. This shop, it's funded by my choices, not yours." Victor's face reddened, his composure cracking. "You ungrateful after everything I've built, throwing it away for him!" He jabbed a finger toward Tyler. "A nobody from nowhere. He's more than you'll ever understand," Rachel shot back, her voice rising. "A man who helped me when I had nothing. Who works hard, raises his daughter alone, and doesn't measure worth by bank accounts. Unlike you, who thinks money buys loyalty." The lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, one whispering to Victor. He waved them off, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't over. You'll regret this rebellion." With that, he turned on his heel, storming back to the car. The Rolls-Royce peeled away, leaving a cloud of dust. The shop erupted in applause, workers cheering Larson, clapping Rachel on the back. "That took guts," he said gruffly. Rachel managed a weak smile, but her hands trembled as the adrenaline faded. Tyler approached, then his expression a mix of pride and worry. He'd wanted to intervene to shield her from the confrontation, but he'd held back, respecting her strength. Now he pulled her into a gentle embrace away from the crowd. "You okay?" he murmured. She nodded against his shoulder, a few tears escaping. "I am now, but it hurts cutting ties like that." "You're not alone," Tyler said softly, holding her tighter. "Not anymore." In that quiet moment amid the fading cheers, their bond solidified, not just as partners in work, but in facing life's storms together. 3 months after Victor Hawthorne's stormy departure, Hope Valley had blossomed into something unrecognizable. Rachel's vision for sustainable development took root. The machinery shop expanded into a community hub offering not just repairs, but training programs for local farmers and youth apprenticeships. Solar panels now topped the roof-cutting costs and drawing grants from eco-friendly investors. Workers like Tom, once skeptical, grudgingly admitted the changes worked higher, efficiency meant steady jobs, and the town buzzed with new energy. Tyler thrived as head of technical operations, his ideas turning the shop into a model for rural innovation. For the first time, he could afford small luxuries, a new backpack for Ellie repairs to the mobile home's leaky roof. But the real transformation was at home. Rachel had become a fixture in their lives, not as an outsider, but as family. She moved into a modest apartment in town, but evenings often found her at Tyler's place helping Ellie with homework or experimenting in the kitchen. "Let's try tacos tonight," she'd say, chopping vegetables while Ellie perched on a stool, giggling at Rachel's attempts to flip tortillas without burning them. Tyler would watch from the doorway, his heart swelling at the sight. Ellie, once so guarded after losing her mother, now beamed with the easy affection of a child who felt secure. Rachel taught her math tricks, shared stories of stargazing in New York parks, and listened patiently to tales of schoolyard adventures. In return, Ellie dubbed her Aunt Rach, though the bond ran deeper, like the missing piece they'd both needed. One crisp evening, as autumn leaves crunched underfoot, Tyler took Rachel for a walk along the pine-lined path behind the house. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. They strolled hand in hand, the air filled with the scent of earth and evergreens. "You've changed everything," Tyler said quietly, stopping by a fallen log. "The shop, the town, us." Rachel turned to him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "No, Tyler, you did. That night in the rain, you showed me what real kindness looks like. I was lost, not just on the road, but in life. You gave me a ride, but more than that, you gave me hope." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a simple silver ring he'd saved for weeks to buy. No diamonds, no extravagance, just honest craftsmanship. "Rachel Hawthorne," he said, kneeling slightly despite the mud. "Will you stay? Not for the shop or the town, but for us marry me." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded, slipping the ring on. "Yes. 1,000 times, yes." They kissed under the whispering pines, the world fading to just the two of them. A single dad who'd once driven alone through storms, and a woman who'd fled fortune to find her truth. Their wedding was small, held in the town square with shopworkers, neighbors, and Ellie as flower girl. No lavish gowns or orchestras, just vows exchanged under string lights promising to weather life's rains together. Ellie stood between them, holding their hands, her smile the brightest part of the day. And in the quiet moments that followed, as they built their life one where Rachel balanced community projects with family dinners and Tyler taught Ellie to fix engines, they discovered a profound truth. Kindness, even in its smallest forms, has the power to rewrite destinies. A simple act like stopping for a stranger in the rain can spark chains of change that touch not just two lives, but entire communities. It reminds us that true wealth isn't in bank accounts or empires, but in the connections we forge, the trust we earn, and the love we choose over fear. If you've ever hesitated to help, remember this one gesture can bridge worlds, heal wounds, and build homes where none existed. In a world quick to judge and slow to give, be the one who stops. Because you never know, the person you aid might just be the one who helps you find your way home. As the winds rustled through the pines outside their window, Tyler, Rachel, and Ellie sat together, a family not born of blood or wealth, but of choice and unwavering presence, a love that needed no titles, only the quiet commitment to stay.